That's right.
So, before we get to all of the news for today and the news that's kept from you, which is what we specialize in, I did a fascinating interview today, which is going to be put on as a podcast probably next week and early next week, and it'll be on our special channel on X. We'll tell you exactly how to get it with Michael Francis. Now, Michael Francis is a very, very remarkable human being. He's a human being that's had two lives. Life number one was as a major member of the mafia, and really the guy that, if he had stayed, would have overwhelmed Gotti. By 1986, 87, 88, he was being listed it's only in his 30s. He was being listed in Vanity Fair and all the silly magazines as the 18th most important and wealthiest mafia member. He was listed as the guy who was going to take over the prince, and he was good-looking, intelligent, not a college graduate, but college educated. Had studied to be a doctor, actually, if I now recall correctly. My goodness, yeah, he's a very bright guy and very, very articulate guy. But he also was the son of one of the most feared members of the Colombo family, Sonny Franzese, who controlled Brooklyn. Now, strangely, he controlled the area of Brooklyn that I grew up in. So I know all about his father's legend. And of course, when I was mayor, I knew all about him and investigated him and prosecuted him, and eventually brought a case against him that was I think dismissed. But then he was charged twice again. We charged him twice again, and he pled guilty. And over a long, torturous period of time, he decided to leave the mafia. And now he did that in 1996 or so, 95 or 96. And now it's 30 years later, and he has left the mafia. And he's given over 2,000 lectures throughout America about how to redeem your life. He's sort of a living, walking St. Augustine's Confessions, which is one of my favorite books. It should be yours. It's probably one of the wisest books ever written by anyone, saint or not, about how a bad man can become a good man. I will tell you that the conversion has been so long now. 25% of there's Kara, 25% of the century, right? It's remarkable. So you'll listen to it. We're going to do it in two parts. With the first one, which will be on next week, is going to explain the mafia part. How a guy, the man obviously is extraordinarily intelligent. He's written 5 books. He's done an award-winning documentary. He does superior interviews and lectures, and he's actually given more speeches than I have. And he's got a very, very important redemption story to tell, a Jesus story to tell. And you can evaluate it. So it'll be on next week. And I really mentioned it now because I finished it just a short while ago. The first part, the second part a little later. And I was so impressed with it. With you get to, I'm going to interview him. Then I'm going to try to do another one where I kind of put it in the context of the Bible and Jesus and what Jesus taught and the parables.
Do you want us to take a break? You want to talk to Mary?
Maybe I'll try. Okay. Well, so
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
today the president announced, and with Robert F. Kennedy and Dr. Oz and and Dr. McCrary, and extraordinary changes in drug prices. They're extraordinary. Most favored nation for Eli Lilly, I've forgotten the other company. By and large, that's where Pfizer is going. This will reduce the price of medicine. Dr. Oz actually used one as an example from like $2,200 to $240. And it's the beginning. And that's what had to have been. This has to have been done for quite some time, and it hasn't. And everybody talked about it, and everybody wanted to do it. And when they wanted to do it, the lobbyists for the companies that you now see doing it would come in and slow it down. In the Congress, in the White House, I'm talking about Republican or Democrat. Slow it down, slow it down, slow it down. And the solution to it was thought of, well, there really is no solution. Well, of course, we always say that there is no solution. Well, of course, there's a solution. You spread the price around. I mean, the legitimate part of the problem is that the development of unusual cures for or tests for things that we haven't been able to cure or test in the past are very, very expensive. Legitimately very expensive, because the trial and error process can be 20 years. And the testing that we require is, of course, as it should be, very rigid. So enormous amounts of money have to be spent in starting a medicine, testing it, finding a problem, fixing the problem, finding another problem, fixing that problem. And you go for the final test, and maybe the results are a little questionable one way or the other. You got to fix that. And by the time you finish, an enormous amount of money has been invested in. Let me pick one that I would know: the PSA test for prostate cancer, which has turned prostate cancer into a treatable disease, and very personal to my family. My father died of prostate cancer before there was a PSA test, and I lived because there was a PSA test, and there's a 50% chance that my son Andrew will have prostate cancer. But one of the reasons why people don't die of prostate cancer by anywhere near the amounts that they did before is because of early detection. And early detection is as close as you're going to get to a cure as a cure in almost all forms of cancer. The cancers that are fatal are very often the cancers you can't discover quickly. And they're working on medicine for that and to cure it. And all that's being spent. So now when they have to recoup and make a profit, right? When they sell it around the world, they're running into countries that put limits on the price of. You got to negotiate with the government as to what the price of medicine is going to be. Here in America, we have an open market. So then they sell it all around the world. They're very short on what they have to recoup for research and development. And they hit us. We pay, the Americans, pay in the price of our drugs and medicines. We pay the research and development costs for the whole world, almost. Well, this is just a matter of they're negotiating tougher with those other countries. This is a little like the NATO problem we have. We can't afford to, at the cost of our health, we can't afford to support the whole world. So Trump is developing, has developed and has succeeded with at least Pfizer, Lilly, and a third company, but probably more, in doing something called favored nation. What favored nation means, and this is a concept that's very much a part of the law, and many, many contracts that are done in international, but even within domestic law. And that is, you get the benefit of the lowest price that is charged. Sometimes you'll see an advertisement like that, right? It'll say, if you can get it cheaper at Walmart, we'll sell it to you for that same price. Well, this is essentially what it is. So America will pay for it, but it'll pay, if the cheapest price is Australia, it'll pay the Australian price. Right. And what that means is the companies, which are extraordinarily gifted and have enormous numbers of personnel, will start to spread the price out all over the world. Now, it won't go anywhere in those other parts. Well, so the price it is in America is going to be spread out over 120 countries. It's a much fairer solution. And I don't think that Washington and the press corps and have any idea of the monumental breakthrough this is. So this is really taking care of people, not the bullshit of Pelosi and Mandami and all these people who, like to become either potentates like Mandami or multi-billionaires like Pelosi. Nancy D'Alessandro.
Let's play a short clip from today. This is President Trump at the White House.
Have agreed to provide all of their other medications to Medicaid at most favored nations prices. Most favored nations, meaning that you will pay the lowest price anywhere in the world. That's what you're going to pay. Whereas before they paid low prices and we paid, thousands of percentile ahead more. And to sell these drugs to all consumers at deeply discounted prices via TrumpRx.com. When is TrumpRx.com opening?
The site is open. It will launch in terms of giving people prices before the end of the year.
In addition,
That's exciting. And Mayor, we have with us from the White House, Corinne Clifford. She was at the press conference today and has more news about what's happening from the White House today.
Hi, Mayor. I'm at the White House. I'm getting my voice back.
Oh, that's good. Maybe now with the price of medicines down, maybe you'll be able to get better medicine for it.
Yes, and it was such an interesting press conference because Secretary Kennedy announced to us, I go to the HHS meetings, Health and Human Services, and he announced to us about a month ago that most children in the United States of America are so unhealthy, they can't even serve in the U.S. military. So the obesity problem in the United States is out of control. And the fact that they're going to give these important weight loss drugs as cheap as possible is critical and key.
Yeah, it is. It really is critical. And the price reduction is $2,000 to $250. I mean, that's crazy. That's great.
Yeah.
It's so expensive. Usually it's like $1,500 to $2,000 a month to do those medications. And so for people to be able to afford them is going to be so important. But then to have the person who passed out in the middle of the whole press conference.
Yeah. Tell me about that.
That's a normal thing to happen at the White House. Honestly, when Dr. Oz was inaugurated, his granddaughter passed out. When Charlie Kirk was getting the Presidential Medal of Honor, Laura Ingram's son passed out. And I never report about this because I try to be respectful, but people get really intimidated by being here at the White House. And a lot of people pass out. It's the best place to pass out. If you're going to pass out, you want to pass out at the White House.
He had two doctors on him right away, including Dr. Trump. So how did he come out? Was he okay?
Oh, he's totally fine. He just felt the stress of having all the press watching him, of being on international television, and Dr. Oz helped him right away, and he had the best EMTs. Of course, President Trump tried to help him, but President Trump had to walk away from that. They do kick the press out when that happens, so we don't get every single clip of it, but it's super important to understand this happens a lot.
It was enough to see that he was well taken care of. Well, thank you very much.
Well,
it's very, very helpful.
I know Corinne has been covering the president's dinner tonight. He's having a meeting with, I believe, 5 Central Asian countries. Corinne, what can you tell us about that?
The cat.
Yes.
So I really appreciate. Yeah, I really appreciate.
Kazakhstan.
Yes.
Okay, so I love telling you this, Mr. Mayor. It's so important because you understand this. It's the president of Kazakhstan, the leader of Turkmenistan, the president of Kyrgyz, Kazgar. Did I
Kyrgyzstan.
say that right?
I think it's
The
Kyrgyzstan.
president of Uzbekistan,
Yep,
the
that's it.
president of Tajikistan.
Yep.
I mean, these are countries that I would never be able to go to, but they're here and the leaders are here and all the foreign press is here. Of course, you know, they push me around a lot. The cameramen here like to push me around at the White House because I am only 5'4", 5'5", and so they like to hit me with the cameras,
Maybe we should
but
get to a
it's
football
super.
player to be a blocking guard for Ted.
We'll have to come down there, Corinne, and
We'll
help her.
straighten
But
him out.
she doesn't need us. Corinne's tough. Corinne's tough.
Corinne, you could go to Kazakhstan. I've been to Kazakhstan.
Okay,
Kazakhstan,
what's it like? What
nice,
is it like?
beautiful, beautiful mountains.
But what language do they speak? I couldn't even understand what they were talking, what they were saying. I said, "What language are you speaking?" And it's their.
They speak Kazakh. It's sort of it would be it's close to Russian, close to Ukrainian. They're right next to China. They're right below Russia. And their leader before the present one, he's a new president, was remarkable at playing all three sides. He was friendly with Russia, friendly with America, and kind of friendly with China. Their historical animosity is toward China, and so they, to the extent that they, but they to the United States, and we have a tremendous amount of oil companies there. And believe it or not, for a period of time, there was a street in Kazakhstan named after me.
I wish they still have that. I should ask them if they still have it. That's amazing.
You should ask if you see him. Say is
did they do away with my street? My law firm eventually left Kazakhstan. For reasons I will explain sometime. But my law firm was there. My law firm was there for many years because we represented the American companies that were taking oil and gas from Kazakhstan. But they treated us pretty much equally to the Russians. So he liked Putin, but he also Nazarbayev was the former president and the great sort of leader of Kazakhstan. And it's the most successful and the richest of all those countries.
Okay, so this was the first time that I've seen a Ferrari outside the White House. So these countries are very wealthy.
With all the oil and gas they have. And they're also the only stand that Russia really can't push around. So they condemn Russia when Russia invaded Ukraine. And they're right there, right below Russia, right?
right.
And they're considered sort of an ally of the United States. But when they invaded Ukraine, they said this is unacceptable. This shouldn't be done. This is not allowed. And they worked out arrangements to make sure Ukraine could continue to have oil and gas.
Right.
So
I wish you were here. I wish you were here at the White House because you would be invited to this dinner. Secretary Basant is there. Vice President J.D. Vance is there. All the key players. Sergio Gore is there. You know, all of Trump's Letnick is there. All the people that Trump trusts. But you really understand these cultures, and you should be there at the dinner. They kicked us out when after they started eating their bread. They kicked us out, of course. But I'm still here with all the camera crews.
I just have one question I want you to get me an answer to tomorrow, okay?
Yes. And a lot of these countries.
I hate to reveal this. One of the delicacies in Kazakhstan is horse.
Oh, that's terrible. Horse?
When I was there, I refused to eat it. And I was told I would really insult the president, Nazarbayev. So I was sitting next to him and I said, President Nazarbayev, I just can't possibly have horse. And I had a smile on my face. It's against my religion. I was kidding, against my religion. But of course, kidding in different cultures doesn't work. And he looked at me and said, well, of course I wouldn't ask you to do that. I think he really thought it was against my religion. So I didn't have the horse. I will at some point tell you when I eventually was fooled and given horse and I got sick. But that's different. So Kazakhstan, you just got to watch out for horse. It's a great place. Well, thank you very much, Corinne. Thank you.
Thank you, Corinne. Keep us posted. I'll be curious how this dinner meeting ends tonight.
I wonder what they're eating.
Yeah, I'll check in with you tonight, and let's talk more. Great
I mean,
report.
they really care about joining the Abraham Accords. That's the main topic of the conversation right now.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. Hmm. I could see them do. I could see Kazakhstan doing it. You know, and if Kazakhstan does it, most of them follow Kazakhstan's lead. A couple of them are a little too close to Russia. You know, you gotta watch it. But Kazakhstan, if Kazakhstan does it, you probably get two more. So let's see. Let's see what happens. Keep
us posted. Thank you, Corinne. Great report.
Thank you. Thank you.
I tell you, the president really there's no part of the world he doesn't pay attention to. That I mean, you have no idea how sort of like critical that part of the world is, and everyone would ignore it. The stands right below China, right next to China, right below Russia. Where they go, how they move, what kind of relationships you have can put a lot of control on China and Russia or not. And the one with the money is Kazakhstan. I mean, because they have all the oil, they have all the gas. And I don't know if they have all the oil and gas, but they've developed all the oil and gas. And they have wonderful relationships with the American companies. And I think American companies would say that over the course of 2, 3, 4 decades, they can't think of an incident where they haven't been fair. So it isn't one where you're worried about investing, that they're going to go nationalize it. Or Nazarbayev was if he was anything else, before he was an ideologue, he was a businessman.
Yep.
And he made sure, even China, which is a natural dislike. So most of the history is between Russia and China, not the United States, right?
Right.
And for some reason, China has been more of an antagonist than Russia, and Russia has been more of an ally. So there is a natural animosity to China in Kazakhstan, and there is a natural affinity for Russia in Kazakhstan. But it is a complex and a well-educated enough country with a leader who led them that way, that they understand the value of the West also.
Right.
So if the rest of the stands could move in that direction, it would become a much more valuable part of the world.
Right.
Well, there is a lesson out of the last election, and I think the lesson may have more to do with New York than any place else. First thing we have to recognize, as I pointed out last night, I don't want to beat a dead horse to use a comparison given what they eat in Kazakhstan. But the reality is that the loss in Virginia is understandable, and the loss in New Jersey is understandable, and the loss in New York is understandable. They're all Democratic places.
Right.
To try to play this as big Democrat turnaround. No. It's a bit of a recovery, but then again, not a recovery of winning or losing. I mean, Trump lost Virginia, Trump lost New Jersey, Trump lost New York City. Republicans last night lost all three. Now, they lost it by more than Trump did, which is kind of interesting.
Right.
Does that mean Trump has slipped, or does it mean that Trump has to be on the ballot? That the affection for Trump is greater than the affection for the quintessential Republican? I don't think you know the answer to that. I really don't. And I don't know what issue in Virginia and New Jersey really turned it. But you can say that one of the things that Mondami did on his own, and of course the press backed it up and made it easier for him, but he has to be given credit for this. He kept the campaign focused on one issue, and he never veered from it. And I will tell you that the greatest political advisors I ever had always told me that a great candidate gets it down to 3 good issues. A really great candidate gets it down to 2 good issues. And a brilliant candidate gets it down to 1. He got it down to affordability. If the polls are correct, and this time I think they were correct. In fact, they were less generous to Mondami than they normally would be to a left-wing Democrat. All his polls were off by anywhere from 10 to 5%. I would love to know, if we can find out, Ted, what the exit polls were on election day. How well did they track the actual vote?
Right.
So if we could get those, we'll
work on that
report
here.
on that tomorrow night.
We talked a little bit last night, right? We have all the charts.
We have the charts of the earlier polls. Those were the polls the day before the election.
What are you looking for?
I'm talking the exit, the polls that
the day of. Okay.
The polls that are taken on the day of the election is very often they're taken right at the election places.
Yep.
They do a sample here, a sample there, a sample
Yeah,
here, a sample there. It'll be interesting to see how they perform with regard. But the issue that emerges from New York is affordability. So whenever Mondami was attacked for being a communist or a supporter of Islamic extremist terrorism, or caught with an imam who was an unindicted co-conspirator in the 1993 bombing of the World Trade Center, or having Linda Sur say they're going to hold his feet to the fire on all of the insane socialist and Islamic terrorist things that he said, you go right back to this election is about affordability. Can you afford to live in New York? And people cannot afford to live in New York. And I have the prescriptions for it. I have what you can do about it. Now, if you now it is unfortunate that the discipline of the voter is so bad they don't go beyond that and say, okay, show me how the arithmetic works, communist. You're going to make New York City more affordable by giving us free grocery stores. Well, that's not affordable. That's free, right? And then you're going to do it by what? Giving us free daycare. And then you're going to give us, I don't know, free whatever you can. Now, we don't have that now. So that's going to cost more money. So somebody has to pay for it. The money doesn't grow on trees like the communists and the socialists like you to believe, right? It doesn't grow on trees. So it's got to come. Who's going to come from? Where's that money going to come from, Mondami, for? And how much is it going to be about? Well, they estimate it to be about $10 billion more. So the budget right now is already, if not bigger than, equal to the budget of the state of Florida, and has basically 1/3 of the people.
Right.
It's absurd. I mean, the budget is absurd. The budget's absurd. It's an absurd budget. The amount of money in it is ridiculous. I mean, how can they? What could New York be paying for that Florida doesn't pay for?
Right.
Graft, kickbacks, inflated contracts for everybody. But no, not for everybody.
Right.
For crooked Democrat politicians who run New York. This is what happens in a one-party state that's been a one-party state for 170 years and keeps reverting to that, like Chicago.
Right.
So how is he going to pay for this? He can pay for it. He says it clearly, by raising taxes. Now, here's where the attention span and the intellect of the New York voter has to grow. Because he has to say, oh, he's going to make it more affordable for me by giving it to me for free. But by doing so, he's going to throw out of the city. He's going to accelerate the already massive flight of capital from the city. He's going to throw out the money that needs to be available to help me in the future. And these programs are going to just fall apart, like they have in every socialist country and communist country. And they're going to fall apart faster because, unlike in a country, people can easily leave, and they are. So you look at the last 3 years, and it's a contest between New York, New Jersey, in California as to who loses the most people. And think of losing people as losing the people who are paying for things. You have a dramatic dichotomy in New York. People who work, people who don't work. And if the people who work leave, another 10% of them, you got a tragedy in your head. They don't know. This is not hard to get to that level of complexity. And the admirable thing, I guess, about their campaign is how they stuck on one issue. The absolutely disgusting thing is how they brainwash people from getting to the next issue. So we'll be right back. U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast. These deals are selling out.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're gonna go into the roaster and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. This is Rudy Giuliani back with you on America's Mayor Live. So we were talking about affordability and how Republicans can't cede that issue to Democrats. And the president's speech, what was it, yesterday morning?
Yes.
Yesterday. I think it was yesterday morning. Yeah, yesterday morning to the Republicans really did make that point. He said the shutdown was a big factor and his not being on the ballot was a big factor, but the cost of living to win back voters on grocery costs, energy bills, and housing costs is very important. So he did give a speech in Miami in which he pointed out all of the things that have gone down in price. And there are conflicting reports about this as to what's up and what's down. The president reports that the price of gasoline is down a great deal, and the price of groceries are down. And the one that hit me, because we're coming up to the holiday pretty soon, is that the turkey dinner for the first time in 10 years is going to cost less than last year.
Less.
That's what he says. Now, the other reports are that we are suffering from some fairly minor inflation, but inflation nonetheless, and that the price of groceries this year is higher than the price of groceries last year. And my check with people who buy groceries are that that's pretty much correct. So I don't know. We have to work this out. I really think well, let's find out who's right first. Because what I was going to say was, if the president isn't absolutely right, then the best thing to do, and I think American presidents do a terrible job of educating people on inflation. I really do. How many American presidents get victimized by inflation, Democrat and Republican? Nixon did, Carter did, Biden, it didn't matter. He doesn't even know what it is. Inflation is almost a necessary cycle that a capitalist, good economy, free economy has to go through. Now, the benefit of a controlled economy is at certain points you can control it to just give you the results that you want. But that only lasts for a little while, and then the price of that is total lack of freedom. Then forever and ever you're told what to buy, how to buy it, what you can buy it for, what you can't buy, what you can do, what you can't do, whether you can buy a house or you can't, whether you're in the category of somebody who can buy a house, whether you can have children or not. So for the price, among other things, of this sort of equal distribution of money, all of your rights are taken away in order to accomplish it. Also, it becomes very, very quickly becomes unattractive to the people who are the hard workers. So in our society, we have lazy people and we have industrious people, and then we have regular people. So the lazy people just aren't going to work, and the industrious people are going to work no matter what. And the ones in between have to be motivated. You take away the work ethic and they all become not motivated. You put in the work ethic and you teach it to them and you introduce it to them, and it all of a sudden starts to make sense. So if when New York was at 1.2 million people on welfare and 44% not paying taxes, I was really worried we were going to crash that. We were going to crash that 50% point, and we were going to have 52%. In fact, New York City at some point in the last couple of years went up to 64% of not paying taxes. That came down, but that's absurd. I think you start to rip a free society apart when you get above more than 50% of the people are supporting the other group. I'm sorry, less than 50% of the people are supporting the group that's not working. Where you get to the 45%, paying and 55% not working, you got a communist country then. And forget they have a communist country. You have a country with antagonism. You have a country with anger. You got a country where the people who are working so hard don't want to be doing it anymore. And then in order to make it work, you got to bring in the strong arm of the state, which is how you develop the secret police. And this happens in every capital. It happens in every switch from capitalism to socialism, including what will happen in New York if they really embrace it. And it is a tragedy that the young people of this country, educated in some of the finest schools in this country, do not understand what I just told you. What I just told you, I learned in school, and then I saw it of my own eyes by traveling the world. I mean, I learned it by reading Das Kapital and reading the Communist Manifesto and reading Gramsci, the Italian communist who converted into the race theory. I did it by reading history of Stalin and Mao. And also remember what happened in Nicaragua. I visited there when it was happening, and remember what happened in Panama. I visited there when it happened. Never gotten to visit Cuba, but I've had enough people that have visited Cuba that I got a pretty good idea of what's going on there. So the tragedy is we have these enormously skillful brainwashers selling it to an enormously deficient group of young people, deficient in proper classical education. And most of them haven't had anything close to a classical education. By a classical education, I don't mean education in Greek and Latin. That's what it traditionally used to mean. I mean an education where the emphasis is put on reading, writing, geography, history. Geography, I don't think you teach geography anymore. Half the kids I talk to don't know where Spain is. We could go outside. Ted could go grab him, bring him in here. We'll bring 10 kids in and say, tell us what country does Spain border on? America. Now, if you don't know things like that, not just one little fact, but the compendium of fact, you have no ability to make judgments for yourself. And then you are a creature of the Mandami people. He'll tell you, I'm gonna take care of affordability by giving you free groceries. But then, if you are an educated person, you say, "Gee, isn't that what happened in Russia? And isn't how Russia fell apart when there was no food in the grocery stores? Did that have something to do with socialism?" Right? The rent control. Rent control is rejected by left-wing economists. Even communist economists reject it. All that rent control will do is destroy your housing stock. I know that from the city, one or two cities that used it the most, Chicago and New York. And with George Pataki, we effectively, I think, got rid of the worst parts of it. He wants to bring it back. It'll literally, not only will it destroy the housing stock in New York, it'll bring crime back, big time, because it will begin to put a large number, an unacceptably large number of people, with also an unacceptably large number of problems in one place, and then you have an unacceptably large amount of crime. The idea of the big developments and the big projects that they had in New York and Chicago turned out to be one of the worst post-war answers to housing, which we recognized. When I say we recognized, universally recognized, right-wing and left-wing housing experts. And therefore, since then, the housing that's been developed has been two-family housing, smaller units, one-family housing, 5-person units. See the difference there? If I have 200 troubled families in one building, it's a lot harder to deal with than if I have 4 families in the building and one family is troubled. I mean, it's much easier for me to deal with. It's also much easier to deal with the fire that might take place and save their lives. The idea of the large, giant project for poor people was like getting them killed. And what I am telling you now doesn't just come from conservative thinkers on housing. It comes from the best liberal thinkers on housing as well. And I was very much involved with their movement, which had some communists in it, but I agreed with them on the way I developed housing in New York was to try to get people out of the housing projects, housing developments, into homes they could buy for a relatively very small amount of money. And I was willing to subsidize that purchase of a home as opposed to rent. I was willing to subsidize it because it showed them the value of capitalism in our economy. So think of it this way. I'd say to somebody, you have $10,000? Have 7. But I can get to 10. So they get to 10, and then we go to the government, which had a program, and the bank, and we get 90 grand. And we buy a house for 100,000 in Brooklyn. A lot of this was done in Brooklyn. Within a short period of time, after they build another 50 of those houses, that $100,000 house is worth 150,000. Person has equity. They don't even know what equity is. You can't imagine how it transformed their life. You can't imagine how it transformed their life. They were able to use $10,000 to produce $40,000 or $50,000 worth of wealth that they never even heard of, thought of. And the smart ones, which turned out to be about 8 out of 10, it was one of the best ways for them, not only out of poverty, but out of crime. And we did that along with our crime program. So when people like to explain our crime program as being all law and order, it also involved getting them into housing, getting them off welfare, getting them jobs, improving the schools, and trying like hell to get charter schools and private schools and school choice. You do the final one, and you complete what you owe to the black people. Because the greatest form of slavery right now is the public school system that they're forced into, which doesn't do a damn thing but try to teach them to be useless little communists by a union that is completely perverse. Ted?
Mayor.
What else we got? The U.S., how about the U.S. UPS airplane?
We got that.
We got any more information on that?
Yeah, so the UPS plane the UPS crash. This was in Louisville.
Yep, it was in
Kentucky. 12 dead. So up to
Is it still
13 now.
12?
13. It's now at 13.
They said it was going to grow. I don't know why they say that, but I guess they couldn't clean it out all at once, right?
Right.
It was a McDonnell Douglas MD-11, right?
Yep. There's still
and
some
it happened right on takeoff.
Yes, the black boxes have been
recovered. And it flipped, right?
Yep. At least 12 dead, but there are still a number missing. They don't even know how many are missing.
The left engine fell.
Fell right off. We'll have video of it here shortly. Let's see the video.
It reminds me a little of the crash in the Rockaways right after September, 2 months after September 11. One of the wings came down. I went there, and the wing was in a gas station, and the plane was in the middle of a house.
So we'll place here
about 2 blocks away.
Really?
Well, the wing. When Bernie and I drove up, very, very fast. We didn't want to use our helicopters. We wanted all our helicopters to be used for rescue. So we drove out there by car, and as we drove up, and I know that area really well. Lots of parades there, big political support there.
Oh, I don't know.
We passed it. We passed the gas station. We take a look at the gas station. The gas station is burning.
Then we take when was this? 2001?
Yeah, this was.
I'm going to try to bring a clip up while you're
talking. This was November 11, 2001. And we see this wing burning in the gas station, and the guy's putting it out with his own hose.
Yeah.
And the fire trucks were just coming. I guess there was some of that. What happened is the other part of the plane, the other wing and the fuselage of the plane had landed cleanly and directly in the middle of a house. and it was and the nose of the plane was inserted into the house, and it
Wow.
stood up like this. It was like this.
Yeah.
Into
Trying
the
to find some video here while you talk about it.
and then one wing was missing, and the wing was 2 blocks away in a gas station. And of course, we were on the phone all the way out there with President Bush because it was considered to be possibly another terrorist attack.
Right. This is
I mean,
just,
how coincidental could that be? 2 months after September 11, another plane goes down.
right. Yep. There's some video of it. This is the gas station.
And,
you're talking about.
and you're getting an idea of. I think you don't know what it is.
Right.
That's the plane. They're not showing about 2 blocks. Right.
As far as the eyewitnesses are telling us, that is all knocked down. What there is remaining is jet fuel and an awful, awful odor in the air that people are now dealing with.
Right, we're talking about
Okay.
that's on fire in addition to the homes. We don't know how many homes have been.
Would you like to take over here?
Yes. Yes, sir. And we'll be right back.
Want to stay here? U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast. These deals are selling out.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because we like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster, and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
Rudy's back. So, welcome to America's Mayor Live. So it is, I think they stopped it now, but originally when that plane went down, they blamed it on the air traffic controllers, and they blamed it on the shutdown, and they blamed it on ultimately Trump, who really is not responsible for the shutdown. Schumer is, but that's to no point really. That couldn't possibly be caused by air traffic control.
Right.
Air traffic controllers are not responsible for the wings on airplanes. No matter if you had no air traffic controllers there or drunken air traffic controllers there, if the wing's going to fall off the airplane isn't going to fly. It's not going to fly. The airplane's not going to fly without a wing. This is a tragedy. It's terrible that it happened. Somebody's got to take a look at wings coming off airplanes. Just shouldn't happen. I mean, it just shouldn't happen. We've had airplanes long enough. Our ability to maintain them is superb. This should not happen. And it happens, again, we have to do this because people are afraid of flying. But if you were to take all the people this year who died in an airplane and all the people who died in a car, and you were even to do an analysis of the number of times that people are in cars and airplanes, which cars lead airplanes by. The best way to look at it is use a percentage of the chance that you're going to die, like they give you when you have cancer, right? So when I had cancer, they told me I had an 85-90% chance of surviving and a 10 to 15% chance of dying. And the first time they said it to me, I kind of figured I was in the 10 to 15%. And then as I thought about it, I thought it was stupid to put myself in the 10 or 15%. If I wasn't, I might as well stay in the 85%. I don't know if it was reversed, if I would have had the courage to do that. I hope so. But in any event,
there's a video of the crash on the screen.
So if you get into an airplane, there's almost a statistically insignificant percentage that you're going to die. When you get into a car, it starts to go up to something real. Right. We'd have to look at the difference, but it is. If you're going to be very nervous going on an airplane, and you're going to need, I don't know, to take something or put yourself in a straitjacket, or you got to do it every time you get in the car. More. Right. You can say that to somebody 100 times, and it won't solve the fear of flying. It won't solve it. And it's completely rational. The reason for it, I think, is really simple. So you look at that, right? You envision yourself in a plane having that happen. You never see a car. So suppose every night we showed you the number of car crashes there were today.
Right. If you had that in front of your face every day. It happens every day. I mean, we were in one a couple months ago.
But who is going to spend the time taking pictures of all the people who died in car crashes today?
Right.
And some horrible picture will scare the living daylights out of you about.
Very scary.
So that's why. But it is. I mean, I look at it and say, "Oh my goodness, look at that." But my rational mind on statistics can get me back to reality pretty quickly. Now, of course, I've seen a lot of car crashes. So.
Right.
What's that picture? That's a picture of the scene. Picture of after, huh?
Yeah.
Well, what city? Louisville?
Yep. Which is a major hub.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I used to fly to Lexington when I went to Kentucky. They had a lot of flights to Lexington from Newark Airport to Lexington.
Right.
But Louisville is the bigger city.
Louisville, Kentucky. That's right. Oh, you spent time there.
Mm-hmm. Louisville is the home of.
Let me guess.
Go on.
Muhammad Ali.
Very good. Very good. Yes, it is.
But was that the one you were looking for?
No.
Was it? Okay, well, let's keep going.
The Derby.
The Kentucky Derby, yes.
Churchill Downs.
Yeah. That's in Louisville? Or close? Right?
Right in the middle of the town.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Never been. Have you been?
Yep. It's beautiful. I mean, it's beautiful.
Is it one of those do it once and it's fine? You said you did it, or is it like go a bunch of times?
I would go back because I went on a rainy day. I never got. I was disappointed.
You didn't get the full.
I completely. I was completely disappointed and underwhelmed, but I didn't let it affect me because I knew that that I wasn't getting the full feeling of it. The people on the lawn all had
the hats,
umbrellas on their hats, and
so
the people who had hats on looked like they were dish rags, and it didn't have any of the beauty that you saw on television or that you knew about. So now tomorrow's going to be a big day in flying. 1,000 flights. About 1,000 flights are going to be canceled tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm going to bring that up in a second.
I don't know what that means. I have to fly to New York on Saturday.
We'll see. Should be okay. Well, it could be delayed.
I'm doing a wedding.
You got to get video of that. I'm sure they'll have somebody there.
As the mayor, I used to do weddings. I loved it. It was like I used to describe it like a relief from all the horrible things you have to deal with, all the terrible and horrible things you have to deal with. And so I would if people asked me to do a wedding, I would absolutely say yes. And very, very often I do them at City Hall, and there's a chapel there also. Or I do it in the mayor's office. Some people preferred that, and sometimes I'd go to places and do it. And I did some with rabbis, and I did some with priests, and I did one with rabbis and priests for a Greek Orthodox Jewish wedding. And I really enjoyed doing it. It was so nice. It was so to see something beautiful like that. I still have it memorized, but I have to call up the bride and bridegroom, I guess, tomorrow, and they have to choose the ceremony. I have several suggestions for them. We could do the traditional ceremony, which is done really by Catholics as well as Episcopalians, but really, basically, it's the one from the Book of Common Prayer, because it's the earliest translation of the Latin wedding ceremony, and it until recently it was almost always done in England, and we adopted it, and the Catholics sort of changed it a teeny bit, but it's the same ceremony.
Okay, to watch it.
Then I can do a little Greek.
Got to get video of this, some pictures.
I can do a little.
This will be fun
if you need it. I mean, if I did that for the Greek and Jewish couple, I did a little Greek and I did a little Hebrew.
It's be very exciting.
Michael Goodwin, who I am an enormous fan of, with good reason, made a point in the first paragraph of his article today. You never get a second chance to make a first impression.
It's a great line.
Right?
That's really good.
And here's the one he says, so it was that his victory speech Tuesday night had no hint of grace or gratitude to New York or America. Its sneering, triumphalist tone was especially unbecoming for an immigrant in a city that had generously opened its arms to embrace him and his family decades ago. A city and a society and a culture that he hates and his father hates. Why did they come here? Rather than any expression of appreciation, his relentless criticism of his political predecessors and successful New Yorkers sounded like a battle cry coming from the interior of a Trojan horse. Without doubt, he was declaring war against President Trump, and by extension, anyone else who has the nerve to oppose our newly crowned ruler.
Nice.
Had the better angels been able to get through his self-aggrandizing armor, Gotham's next mayor surely would have included, at least perfunctorily, promises of pleas for civil unity. Now, who wins a hotly contested election and doesn't call for unity? A person who supports Islamic extremism. That's who does that. But there was not a word of fellowship to those who didn't buy the discount store bromides he's been selling. Now that he's been elected, he expects 8 million people, and they don't all vote for him, by the way, to just follow whatever he says. Traditional niceties and graciousness apparently are far beneath chosen ones, because he is, from a very wealthy family. tried to cheat his way into Columbia by claiming he was black, didn't get in, but he still got to go to a very good school.
Right.
When the mask dropped, we saw immediately, clearly, the fangs of contempt and bitter grievance. His dark heart came through, loud and clear, in his depiction of New York City as something of a modern slave state, where a ruling class of landlords, bankers, and even neighborhood merchants sucks the life out of everyone else. Those in City Hall have only helped those who can help them. But on January 1st, we will usher in a city government that helps everyone. Probably came from Stalin. Well, and then he declared war on Trump, which is about as stupid as a mayor can be, as egotistical as a mayor can be, as narcissistic as a mayor can be, and as how uncaring he can be for the good of his people. The man is, whatever your insane Trump delusions are, the man is the president of the United States. He controls the purse strings on a lot of your money. He also controls the levers on a lot of things that affect you. And it's not unheard of that you can be of two political parties and still work cooperatively on the affairs of a state or a city. I did with Bill Clinton. And Trump is more open to that than most presidents. And I think he probably still is, but the child has to punch him in the face. I mean, but how stupid is that? You're a mayor, he's a president. I didn't do that with Clinton. The reason I was a successful president, I played Clinton correctly. If anyone can show a nation betrayed by Donald Trump, imagine telling the president he betrayed the country. I think that might be an overstatement. That Trump betrayed the country. If anyone can show a nation betrayed by Donald Trump how to defeat him, it is the city that gave rise to him. The city that he knows and you don't. The city that he was born in and grew up in. The one that you just showed up in like 10 years ago. What the hell do you know about New York City, kid? I lived in New York City, most of 79 years. You think you know New York City like I do, you little jackass? If you do, you're an arrogant idiot. And it doesn't help that not the Wall Street Journal, they've been pretty good on this guy. But the New York Times and all the sycophant idiot reporters who follow you make you feel like you really are an expert. You don't know shit about New York City. I bet I get you lost there really quickly. Once I said, when I was thinking of running against Hillary Clinton, instead of having a debate, we're both going to show up at Kennedy Airport on an airplane at the same time. We're going to see who gets to City Hall first.
Right.
And we're going to have to send somebody to rescue her in Westchester.
Right.
And we each get a car. We got to drive in ourselves.
Yeah.
We will hold bad landlords to account because the Donald Trumps of our city have grown far too comfortable taking advantage of their tenants. Donald Trump doesn't have those kinds of tenants, little jackass.
Right. Right.
The tenants that he takes care of are the billionaires you want to throw out of the city. Remember, you also said there shouldn't be any billionaires in the city. Could you be any more stupid than that when you need all this money? Where are you going to get it? You're going to steal it? Yeah, maybe. He's taking advantage of his tenants. Some of his tenants are princes and queens. It is ridiculous. In a way, you'd want him to take advantage of his tenants. Michael bemoans the fact that significant numbers of Jewish leaders and voters were snookered by the first Muslim mayor's promise of protection from the ravages of anti-Semitism. He's going to protect the Jews against himself? The capitulation is impossible to defend, given Mondami's virtual opposition to Israel as the Jewish homeland and his failure to denounce Hamas and other terrorists during the last 2 weeks. To his benighted ilk, anything Israel does to defend itself proves it's guilty of genocide. Jew-hating Linda Sarsour is one of his closest advisors, and she has promised to make sure that he keeps his promises to the Muslim extremists, that is. So that kind of sums up where the heck we are, which means we got to be ready to pounce on them right away. I don't know. I mean, there's no reason why you can't say, let's give him a chance. Let's see what he does. But it's kind of foolish. He already has, right?
Right.
He's attacked the president. He's attacked our society. He's attacked the Jewish people. He's selected all these people from the most failed mayoral administration in history, if not from the Biden administration, the most failed presidential administration in history. He hasn't done any reaching out to his opponents. I don't know. You tell me when he does something where I should say, oh, gee, let's give him a chance. There's nothing I'm going to do that's not going to give him a chance, but I'm not going to be a fool. And he's not asking for unity. Doesn't seem to care. It was kind of disappointing to see Bill Ackman immediately kind of suck up to him.
Yeah, right. That's what we're seeing now.
I mean, that's the problem.
Right.
That's the problem. I just don't think this is going to succeed. But the problem, if we want to cut off and destroy our way of life, is to accommodate ourselves to the people who hate and want to destroy us. Cliff Asness, the AQR Capital Management founder, wrote about what Ackman did. Obvious hate of Israel and Jews is past congratulations.
Yeah.
And past a GIMP offer of help.
Right.
What are you going to help with? Bill, what are you going to help with? I hope that was just like a stupid thing that he did.
Right.
I mean, it's not going to do any good anyway. So it looks like the Supreme Court, from all the Solons and the geniuses who analyze Supreme Court arguments, are convinced that they're going to overturn the president's power to invoke tariffs under IEPA, the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. And it may well be the wrong statute that he selected. And as Professor Dershowitz pointed out yesterday, it probably should have been argued by the Solicitor General, which you can always fall back on, statute or no statute. The constitutional powers are always there. On the constitutional powers of the president and the Congress, and how they're aligned, and how the president's powers on foreign affairs have to take precedence over every other branch of government. And in the particular case of these tariffs, they're being used really as an instrument of foreign affairs, not an instrument of necessarily collecting revenue. This is how he disciplined China into making the commitments to us on fentanyl that he wanted, among other things. That's a different thing than imposing a tariff because they impose a tariff on us. That's an purely economic decision. So far, we've raised $90 billion with these tariffs. Should the court determine it's unconstitutional, technically it's got to be returned.
Right.
That's gonna cost an enormous amount of money. There is a chance they could rule that it wasn't so far. It is a little strange, but they've done it because they do strange things sometimes. you could say it wasn't that far off and it wasn't in bad faith, and therefore the government can keep the money, but it can't keep doing it. I prefer that because I'd rather have the money than have them have it. They've been cheating us for years, and we can't get the Congress now. Or what's the Supreme Court doing messing in tariffs anyway? Why don't they just say it's up to you?
Right. Why is that?
It's a political. There used to be a great doctrine that was used a lot by judges who weren't quite as egotistical as these judges, and that where they thought they had to resolve every question. It was called the political question doctrine. What the political question doctrine meant was that a issue that comes up is so much within the power of the legislature and the executive, and has so little to do with the judiciary that we'll let them decide it.
Right.
It's a form of declination of jurisdiction. You don't say you can't decide it. You say it isn't, given the kind of constitutional form of government that we have, it isn't wise for us to decide it. We shouldn't intrude that heavily into the other two branches that, after all, are co-equal, and they can't interfere into us, and we can't interfere into them.
Right.
And nobody has given the tariff authority to us.
Right.
It's given it to Congress and the president, Congress and the president. And in each case, a little more to one than the other. And if the Congress is using it for purely economic, financial purposes, that's one thing. But if the president is using it for foreign policy or arranging foreign difficulties, that's a different matter. That would be a very wise Supreme Court.
Right.
And this has been at times a wise Supreme Court. I am not, although the overwhelming opinion of the lawyers are that he's going to lose it, I'm not as sure. I'm not as sure because I think the court is perfectly capable of raising the arguments that the solicitor has forgotten. So we forget, because so much is going on, that the war in Ukraine is still going on, and the Russians are killing civilians anytime they want. Now, the difference is the Ukrainians are hitting back, and they're hitting back hard, and they're hitting back intelligently. On Tuesday night, they took out most of the Lukoil oil refinery in Novgorod, Russia. And that is responsible for 30% of Russia's gas consumption. 30%.
Wow.
That could be a hit. They use 50 drones, and it's also one of their largest oil refineries, but we don't have the statistics on that. So when you add the sanctions put on oil to the elimination of oil by the Ukrainians, got to get to them eventually. This was a big hit. It was an important one. But while they're doing it, they're losing people. Now you're going to say, well, why don't they go attack the Russian people? Well, first of all, maybe they're a little bit more humane to do that. But secondly, it would be kind of he doesn't care how many people he loses. I think the people that I've talked to that know him and the things I've read about him, taking his oil is much more important than taking his people. He's got a lot of people to sacrifice.
Right.
Then, if not, he'll bring in, people he pays. And see, some of these widows are getting cheated. Some of these widows, they went and got like drunks and homeless people and people who have problems with their family, and they said, "We'll pay. We'll do this. You come into the army, and if anything should happen to you in the line of duty, your wife will get $500,000. She'll get a fortune."
Right.
So now they're not paying all of it. And the wives are going crazy. I don't think you can sue in Russia. I mean, you can, but then you find out and you go home that night to have your soup and you die.
And your business is gone.
So if somebody is dead of poison, you got a 9 out of 10 chance that a Russian did the killing.
Yep.
If it's a baseball bat, it's probably some Italian kid in Brooklyn.
Yep.
That was my rule as U.S. attorney. People have their preferred methods of killing.
Yep, and you would. Yeah.
By the way, in England, it's a knife. Or they had some guy killed 13 people with a knife. I was very tempted, but I was too tired to put out a tweet a couple of nights ago about this and say 13 people were killed in a mass killing in London. See, we need gun control.
Yeah. Right. You see all that.
Because if Schumer or one of those or AOC, Dopey were there, they would make an argument for gun control.
Of course. That's what they do.
So I think we've covered everything tonight. Let's see. The Hispanic vote slipped badly. Now I just have New Jersey.
Well, I was going to say, remember, that's Hispanic vote in one state.
But we should look the rest of the places. I mean, so Trump was 51-46 with Pamela. So she had him by 5 points on the Hispanic vote. Meanwhile, what's her face?
Cheryl,
the cheater at the military academy, had 68% down to 31%. That's a big difference. I wonder why did Hispanics like her so much? She's a big cheat.
Maybe the ones that came out and voted they're fired up are the Democrat ones.
And did we
Trump's not on the ballot.
Did we not do a
Jack Ciattarelli's?
I don't know that I know people in Republican politics now, like in the old days. And of course, I'm thinking about Roger, who know how to deliver a negative. The negative on her was catastrophic.
They didn't
she
deliver.
Cheated at the Naval Academy. There is no doubt about it, and she's lying about it now. And she can solve it very quickly by putting her records out. And her records don't belong to her; they belong to you.
Right. You're right about that.
Naval Academy, the last time I checked, is not a private institution. It's an institution supported by the taxpayers of the United States. Right. It's supporting servants of the United States, people who you have to have trust in to save your life.
Right.
If they cheat in the academy, you need to know that. And if the academy is uniformly kind of ignoring it because there were just too many to punish, we should know that too. And then we should also know that we can't exacerbate our problems by continuing to promote these people throughout life because they hide their initial cheating. I mean, she was lying as a congresswoman when she said she didn't know how she got $7 million. Why would that be unexpected? She lied as a cadet or whatever they call midshipman.
Right.
But we elected this thing as governor, which is, I mean, she wasn't worthy of being elected governor. Nor was the attorney general in Virginia, who talked about killing the Republican head of the state legislature and his children.
Right.
Taking great pleasure in it's being done. So right now, it looks like the election of Mondami, the Islamic extremist supporter, will deliver New York to Republicans, Stefanik. But my friend Bruce Blakeman has now said he's interested in thinking about running.
I like that.
So we have a long time to talk about this, but I'll begin now because it's still a very interesting election, right?
Right.
Would that help or hurt to have a Republican primary? There are
Good question.
There are two schools of thought about that.
Well, I will say this, Mayor.
Now, if there were no Republican primary and Trump had just run, he might not have won at all. Trump won. Trump developed momentum to win by beating 14, 13 Republicans.
Right. Well, in this case, I don't know. I think Stefanik's probably better known statewide than Blakeman.
I would say so. Not by a tremendous amount. I don't think so.
And
she's from upstate, and he's from the place where 40% of the vote is.
Okay.
And he's on television,
local
in the
TV
New York
a lot,
metropolitan area. So he is known in a place with 13 million people. Not all of them New Yorkers, by the way. And she's known in a place with maybe more like 4 or 5 million.
Okay, so that's interesting.
Now she's also known nationally because she's done some very, very good work.
Right. So in this case, you have two strong candidates who are known quantities. They don't have 100% name ID, but they're well known. And so I don't know that a primary in this case would benefit because I think a primary is better if you have two relatively unknown candidates, right? Then maybe a primary allows them to, they have to go on TV. People are exposed to them. They get their name IDs up for a general.
That because of the national publicity, I think that Elise is better known than Bruce Blakeman.
That was what I was thinking. Yeah.
I think because of the national publicity, she's better known.
Right.
And they're both very good candidates.
Exactly.
They're both very good speakers, very successful records, charismatic, attractive.
Exactly.
I don't know how do you evaluate a candidate on those, and they're both highly intelligent.
Right.
So it would be I think either one of them could defeat Hochul.
Right.
Big time. I would say right now, Elise probably has the better chance because she's off to a head start, and she already in one poll leads it by a point. Which
we'll have to get him on. We know,
and I do think that Hochul hasn't even sunk in yet. Every time Mondami does a crazy thing in New York, the vote in Nassau County, Suffolk County, and upstate New York, the Democrats will go down.
Right.
And Elise is remarkably intelligent. And so is Blakeman.
Right.
Blakeman has the advantage of coming from the more populous part of the state. He probably she starts off ahead. He probably in long term would do better in New York City.
I think that's fair.
Holding the vote. The trick to winning in New York, if you want to hear it from an expert, is the Republican vote in New York City has to be, for the Republican, somewhere between 32 and 35%. If you don't get that, you lose, for sure. Then you have to win the suburbs big, like by 8 to 10%. And then you have to win upstate by like 20 to 25%.
That makes sense.
And that's now. Are the numbers a little different because you're talking to a guy that's going back 20 years with those? Yes. But is the proportion much different? No. I don't think the population of the city has grown a little. Population of upstate New York has shrunk a little. But the city has also lost. It's just hard to say which way it would go.
Right.
If you could keep out the illegal voters in the city, then
right.
That would help. Yeah, that would help.
Well, we'll keep up on that race. We'll get these candidates on, and we'll
be a great race.
Yeah.
And she's a terrible candidate. I don't know if you've saw
Kathy Hochul. Yes.
Hochul is a terrible candidate. I mean, she'll make so many mistakes. It'll be fun covering.
We'll cover it right here. We'll have them on. We'll have these candidates on. So stay with us. 2026, right around the corner. We're now past 2025.
And now remember, next week, and we'll give you the magic date when it comes up. Then you get on our subscription
network, X. Subscribe on X.
And we'll have our new Common Sense podcast. And the reason for it, which I'll explain in greater detail as we get closer, is so we can go into depth on more things, because on a show like this, you have to cover things too fast. And a lot of times you need to know the background of something. And you're not, and the reason you need to know it is because they keep it from you. Okay. So we'll be talking a lot more about that too.
Oh, yeah.
So, Ted, good job tonight.
You as well, Mayor. Fast-paced show, good reports. We'll be back tomorrow.
Remember, pray for the people of Israel. Pray for the people of Ukraine. Pray for the people of Iran. They're right in the bullseye. Pray for the people of Argentina, who may get delivered pretty soon to liberty and freedom. Of course, pray for us. And pray for the president. He needs strength. He's got it. That doesn't mean he doesn't have strength, but he needs it from you. Then he'll make the right decision. God bless America.
It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze. We are able to apply our God-given common